Hi there, I'm Vincent Boss and I provide dating and self-improvement advice. And in today's podcast, we're going to be discussing Dumpee despair to happiness. I provide audio coaching to help people try and get their ex back or get a new girlfriend or boyfriend. Check out my website for more details. www.dateme.tips. Please check your spam and junk folders if you are expecting an email from me. So now let's get back into today's podcast, and today we are discussing Dumpee despair to happiness. So if you have been dumped, then you would likely experience negative emotions. The feeling of despair can consume your thoughts 24/7, and it seems almost impossible to imagine feeling happy again. In today's podcast, I'm going to try and disprove this viewpoint and show in 3 points how a dumpee can go from despair to happiness. So let's get straight into this. And point number 1 is shock. So we're starting off during the breakup itself, and most dumpees say that they didn't see the breakup coming, and even those who did expect it somewhat never really understand how bad it's going to feel until it has actually been implemented. So even though some dumpees may actually say, look, if I'm honest, I did kind of see this coming, once it happens, the shock to the system is huge. And for those people who didn't see it coming, oh my goodness, there is nothing worse than the shock of being broken up with. So as a dumpee, you're going through shock, you're going through grief, you're experiencing every negative emotion you could imagine and more. And during this time, you are very unlikely to be able to see any light at the end of the tunnel. Now, whether you want to get your ex back or not, being broken up with is a horrible experience. Even if you think to yourself, I don't want my ex back, the knock on your self-esteem is still going to be powerful. You're going to be feeling low, you're going to be feeling despondent, and even if you don't want your ex back, you're probably thinking, if, how, and when am I ever going to find a relationship which works out for me? Now, if you do want your ex back, if you didn't want to be broken up with and you think, look, I really want to get back with my ex, the desperation can feel even more agonizing because you really want this person who has, in essence, rejected you. And therefore, the feelings of grief will start to set in. The 5 stages of grief, they come, they go, and they're the feelings which sometimes seem they're never going to end. But what we're focusing on in point number 1 is shock. The shock of a breakup, the feeling of despair, the fact that everything you once knew about your life now seems to have been turned upside down. All of the plans, all of the focus that you had has probably been shaken to the core, changed, altered, and you can't see the wood from the trees. You can't see how your life is going to pick up from this point. You're just fully focused on the emotions which are consuming you. And that is understandable, but unfortunately, it is not helpful. It's not going to help you wallowing within these negative emotions, but you can't do anything but that. You have to experience the feelings to work through them. Your mindset needs to recover, but it first needs to work through what it is experiencing, and therefore it can feel like a very lost time. You almost lose yourself within the situation. It's so important to remember that these feelings of despair, these feelings of shock, all of this negativity is temporary. And even if you think, look, I don't believe you, I don't believe I'm ever going to be able to get through this, I'm here to tell you you will. You will get through this. And if you need extra help, please make sure you contact a local doctor. They can help you with depression. Depression is serious. Please don't battle through this alone. Listen to me when I say this. You will get through this difficult time. These feelings are temporary, and you just need to get through this initial difficult point, and you will then start to see things slowly but surely start to improve, and at least then you will see the light at the end of the tunnel. But right now, point number 1 in Dumpee despair to happiness, we have to acknowledge the shock. We have to acknowledge the grief. We have to acknowledge the pain, the despondency, the feeling that you are never going to feel happiness again, because we have to work through these feelings so we can get through the other side. The only way you can get through a bleak tunnel is to keep moving forward. If you sit down in the tunnel, you can't get out the other side. So you have to keep moving forward. You have to work through this. And as I said, if you need extra support due to depression, please contact a local doctor. They can help you. If you want advice and support about breakup recovery in general, if you want advice and support about trying to increase the chances of getting your ex back, then please consider my audio coaching service where I can speak with you one-on-one about your unique situation. More details can be found on my website, www.dateme.tips. So now let's get into point number 2 and the second point of today's podcast about Dumpee, despair to happiness. And point number 2 is accountability. Now, I'm not here to tell you that you have made all of the mistakes within your relationship where you ended up getting dumped. I'm not here to say that at all. But it's also important that we take accountability of our own actions, of our own behavior, of our own attitude within any given situation. And if you've been dumped, we have to acknowledge the fact that somebody ends a relationship because they've lost romantic emotional attraction. And therefore, they are feeling right now at this time that you are not working together within something that they feel is working for them in a fulfilling way. So your ex, unfortunately, was not feeling fulfilled. They did not believe that when they thought of the future that things was going to be satisfying for them. And then, unfortunately, this is why they decided to end the relationship. And hence, during this difficult time, it's so important to take accountability and really look in the mirror and think, how did I behave? What did I do to potentially get my ex to lose romantic emotional attraction? Did I do anything which I could improve upon in the future? Now, as I said at the start of point number 2, I'm not suggesting that you are fully to blame. And your ex will also need to go through this type of self-discovery if they was to ever reconnect with you, because two people who reconnect are building a new relationship on hopefully stronger foundations, and both people need to look in the mirror. Both people need to take accountability. But when we are looking at ourselves, when we are trying to understand how we can go from despair to happiness, we must acknowledge our own mistakes. We must acknowledge where we are right now and what we can do to improve ourselves. Try to be a better person today than you were yesterday and a better person tomorrow than you are currently today. Keep improving, become a version 2.0 of yourself. And if you do this, you will become a more attractive proposition, not only to your ex, but to new people as well. And we can't get to that point unless we go through accountability. Now, luckily for Dumpees, this is something which naturally generally occurs in most Dumpees positions. This is why I'm speaking of the journey that a Dumpee is likely to go through from despair to happiness, because most Dumpees will automatically, seemingly, go into this mode where they look at themselves in the mirror, and if anything, they become too harsh and too critical. You shouldn't beat yourself up about the past. You shouldn't beat yourself up about things which can't be altered. Give yourself a break, give yourself self-love, but just consider tweaks, things you could improve upon, and how you can improve every single day to become a version 2.0 of yourself. So it's not about beating yourself up, it's about looking at how you can improve and just considering that the past is the past, but the future has not yet been written. Now, lots of dumpers don't automatically go through this phase. Most dumpers, unless they are really spoke to by somebody who really shines a light at them, they're going to be unlikely in the early days after a breakup to go through self-improvement. They're not likely to believe that they even need to. But in essence, every single one of us must be grown. We must always move forward, and everybody needs to take accountability. But when we are looking at the Dumpee journey, this is something which generally happens automatically. And after the shock and all of the negative emotions which flood a Dumpee's mind in the early days after a breakup, there will come a time where a Dumpee does look in the mirror and does start to understand what they may have done wrong to cause the breakup, what they may have done wrong to not quite fit within this relationship, and what they can do to improve, not only to potentially get their ex back, but what they can do to improve to be more attractive to the greater public, to more than their ex. Become a version 2.0 of yourself, grow your attraction net, and attract more people, more attractive people, better people than your ex. Accountability is the second step on our journey, and if and when you reach that, you will see the light and you will understand what you need to do to get towards the light of happiness, because if you don't get your ex back, you will find somebody even better. So now let's get into point number 3 and the final point of today's podcast about Dumpee, despair to happiness. And point number 3 is living life. Now, when you go through accountability, it's all right doing the theory and thinking, okay, I could have done this better, and okay, I could improve myself in this way. But now you need to live your life. You need to implement what you are thinking. Okay, so if you say to yourself, I'm really struggling with being very needy, maybe you need to speak with a counsellor or somebody such as myself who could try and support you through that and improve your mindset. Maybe you're thinking, look, I need to improve my health and fitness. I'm not somebody who is as physically attractive as I could be. I'm not as healthy as I could be. Maybe you need to quit bad substances, for instance. These are the type of things where you think about, you take the accountability, but then you need to live your life and you need to do the hard work. You need to go on more walks. You need to quit those bad substances. You need to give yourself more sleep. You need to look after yourself and really start to improve in every single way. Maybe you want to learn a new language. Maybe you want to learn a new academic skill, which could get you a better job. Maybe you want to start your own business. Whatever it is you want to do, don't just think about it. You've got to live it. And once you're living these elements, you now need to push forward and make new connections. I always suggest people join new classes, groups and clubs. They're great ways to meet new people, improve your skill set, communication skills and the like. And also, you never know, you might meet the next love of your life even if you were least expecting it. Even when you're thinking, I'm not going to meet anybody new, I don't even want to meet somebody new. Who knows what is around your next corner when you improve yourself and put yourself out there and live life to the full. Make sure you mix with new people. Make sure you go to events you're invited to. Make sure you don't shut yourself away. Because whether you want to get your ex back, whether you want to meet somebody new, you can't do either of these things if you're hiding away. Your ex is not going to find you attractive if they think you're sitting at home crying every day. Unfortunately, that is not an attractive trait to have. That is not attractive to somebody to think. You need to live your life. So if you want to get your ex back, ironically, the best thing you can do is go straight out into the world and make new connections, because you present yourself as a dateable option, somebody who is worth dating. Living life to the full shows that you're not waiting around, you're not clock watching, you're not going to sit down in this bleak tunnel and hope to somehow get out there, because you won't. The way you get out of a bleak tunnel, as I said earlier on, is to keep moving forward. And when you move forward, you will find happiness. You will find the rays of light coming through the bleak tunnel, and you will walk into hope, into happiness and into fulfillment. And that is how you can get from despair to happiness during the Dumpee journey. You can do it. I believe in you. Let's get going. If you believe that this podcast has helped you, then please consider buying me a coffee. The link to do so is in the description.
Yeah, if you miss your ex, we can help with that. Help you get him back, or we can help find you someone else. Yeah, Vincent Bo, the relationship coach, giving you some insight, bringing you a new approach. DateMe.tips, go and check the site, giving you advice, helping with your love life. Get your ex back or move to the next. Ain't no sweat, you know Vincent Bo got you. Finding love ain't no problem. Yeah, DateMe.tips, check it out now.